But what we don't know, because we don't have the footage, is that it was a Boeing 757.
Yeah, but no, I mean, because all those people died.
Oh, because all those people diid. Okay, Luke.
Yeah, on the airplane.
You heard it, folks, because all those people died. All right. I guess we'll just
all
end
the
this.
people on the plane. What they do with all the people on the plane?
Name one of those person's names.
A guy in my hometown died on 9/11.
Name his name.
His name was something Corcoran.
Something Corcoran.
Yeah, I don't remember his first name.
What flight was he on?
Fucking 72. I don't fucking know.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right, welcome to another episode of Intellectual Dummies. We got a conspiracy episode that we're going to deep dive into. I'm your host, Lucas. This is my co-host, Paul. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it.
All right, Lucas, are you going to tell them what we're getting into today?
Oh, yeah. So the conspiracy theory is the 9/11 conspiracy theory. I mean, okay, so I'll go as far and say that maybe we don't know the entire truth, but I don't think that the government killed thousands of Americans.
Okay, now let me ask, though, because I am a 100% believer in the 9/11 conspiracy. I think that it was perpetrated by the neoconservatives that were globalists. They want to take, they want to run the world. They needed a reason to invade Iraq, and they used 9/11 in order to do it, a false flag operation. It's been done 1,000 times throughout history in order to go to wars, and that's what I believe that happened. But let me ask you though, like, have you ever looked into any 9/11 truth?
Not in a long time. It has admittedly been a while. I mean, when I was looking at 9/11 stuff, we're talking about when I was in high school. That we're talking beyond 15, 16.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
This was 2002.
2001,
so like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, was it 2001?
Yeah, 9/11, 2001. Yeah, I was in 4th grade.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened that day?
I remember seeing it on the news, and then I remember going into my 4th grade class with Mr. Lynch, and he said that some bad people attacked America. And I was like, oh, like I didn't really understand like the weight of the situation. But that's some wild stuff.
Wait, Mr. Lynch?
Yeah.
I had that guy in 5th grade. I hated that guy.
Oh, come on. He was a nice guy.
Yo, he fucking... was in 5th grade. I had a Motley Crue Shout at the Devil folder, and he took it away from me and said it wasn't appropriate for school.
I mean, that kind of seems like a reasonable thing to do.
What are you talking about? I was a kid. I loved Motley Crue. I got a Shout at the Devil folder for fucking school.
Yeah, what would it look like?
It was
dressed up like chicks.
It was just Motley Crue, like, posing.
Yeah, dressed like fucking trannies, probably with fucking.
Yeah, they probably looked like trannies at the time. I mean, I'm not going to say they didn't. But that's not the point. I was just a young man who was a fan of heavy metal music.
Yeah. This is not appropriate. That's funny. I've never heard you say that. I like Mr. Lynch. If you're listening, Mr. Lynch, you're a great teacher.
Oh, wait, hold on one second.
To excel.
So, if I may say, what do you think? I'm about to share it right now about what you actually shared with me was something that I saw a long time ago.
Word the fast way. Get ready. Yes. Sound it out. Get ready.
Oh yeah, this is kind of fucking crazy.
What word? Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. What word? Steal. Yes, steal. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Play. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kick. Yes, kick. Get ready. Steal. Yes, steal. Get ready. Play. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Boys and girls, keep your reading up from your speed. Open your book up to lesson 60 on page 150.
See, now in the conspiracy world, they say that they had those kids read that out loud because it's kind of like they're telling us out in the open. You know that whole theory where they have to tell us, but
Yeah,
they just
like
do it
other
through their
ways.
yeah, they just do it in other ways. So that's why they're able to get away with it and shit like that.
Yeah.
What do you think about that when they had those kids read those specific words?
So that's definitely. I
Because
mean,
you sent that to me.
I did. That is kind of nuts. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, though, okay, steel. Everything's made of fucking steel. Is that
Plane
really?
hit.
No, it wasn't hit. It was.
Yeah, they said hit.
Did they?
We can watch it again if you want. I mean, I don't care. This is the conspiracy show, so let's do it. We'll do it again. Let's see. Boom.
It was like play and hit steel. Like okay.
Yeah, hold on.
And the sound it makes. Get ready. Yes,
Kite.
get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Yes,
Hit.
sound it.
So there you go, right there.
Damn. Yo, that's fucked up.
It's pretty wild, right?
That is crazy. And if you kind of look at George Bush, he doesn't look like he's fucking all there. He looks like he's worried,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just the way his body language is kind of like a nervous anticipation.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Or like he knew it was going to happen. Because even like, yo, I mean, I don't know. If I was the president of the United States, I don't think I would sit there and just go like this while the guy's like, yo, another plane hit the tower. And I'm just like,
Well, you know what? So they could have known beforehand. Like, hey, listen, there are these guys. We don't know where they are in the country, but some people are going to try and hijack some planes.
Well, there's that theory too that they knew it was going to happen and they let it happen. There's the theory where they orchestrated it, right? Then there's the theory that they knew it was going to happen, so they let it happen. And either one could be true, but I feel like, and we'll see in the documentary, just with the way the buildings collapsed, like our government had to have something to do with that, because that just wasn't by planes hitting it.
Now, see, I don't think so.
All right, well, let's get into it. This is my favorite 9/11 documentary of all time. It's called the 9/11 Conspiracies, and all it does is it just shows the things that we were told. No, not the 9/11 Conspiracies. It's called the 9/11 Coincidences. And it shows all the things that we were told, oh, no, that's just a coincidence when it comes to 9/11.
Okay.
If it's too loud, just let me know. Oh, wait, I haven't even fucking shared it. Thank God I noticed that. Yeah, 9/11 Coincidences, Part 1. So I'll read it. In the 100-plus years of steel-frame buildings, only 3 have ever collapsed due to fire. All 3 leased by the same man. All 3 fell in exactly the same way. And all on the same day.
Yeah, it's a little misleading already.
1, to great. So you do know the story that they say the reason why the buildings collapsed the way they did was due to structural damage because of the diesel fuel.
Yes.
You know that's the official story, right?
So when they say, Jesus fucking Christ, did you hear that?
I heard something.
These fucking pieces of shit outside. Sorry. Anyways, yeah. So it's a little misleading. The only 3 steel frame buildings have ever collapsed the way that you know, like those 3 buildings were built different than a traditional building.
Yeah, I know they were actually built to withstand a plane crash.
No,
it will show it in the documentary.
Yeah,
but
the documentary could just be fucking lying.
Well, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. We're gonna watch and see, dude.
Okay, let's see.
So let's keep going. We'll keep going. I won't stop every time it says just a conspiracy. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? But I will stop.
If I want to pause, I'll just shout it out.
Okay.
But, you know.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so again, in the 100-plus years of steel frame buildings, only 3 of them collapsed due to structural damage or fires. All 3 collapsed at free fall speed.
Those towers collapsed at free fall speed. Not quite 15 seconds. The law of conservation of momentum would have predicted about 45 seconds had there in fact been resistance to the collapse at each floor. But there was no resistance. Because the only explanation for the first 3 steel frame buildings in the history of mankind to collapse as a result of fire, all on the same day, all in the same place, all at free fall speed, all diving symmetrically into their own footprint, ladies and gentlemen, has nothing to do with fire, but was in fact a controlled demolition.
Yeah, again, very, very misleading.
Well, it's called just. What do you mean by misleading?
Because
I'll pause it here.
The trade towers were not built the way a traditional skyscraper is built.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so they're comparing these buildings like they're like every other buildings. Now, this comes from one of my friends who works in construction, and he's fucking very smart with shit like this. Now, the World Trade Centers were only built to last, like, I think it was like 30 years or something like that.
That's not true.
No, it is. It is true.
It's not true. The World Trade Centers were skyscrapers, and they were monuments, and they were built, and you'll see it in the video when they go over it, they were built to withstand plane crashes. They were also labeled as places that terrorists would probably try to attack, because they did try to attack it before in the 90s. So, like, to say it was built differently than every other building?
It was. No, it absolutely was. It was. Because these particular towers were not built with a core in the middle. There was no core in the middle of the building. Now, the core is the strongest part of the building.
There is a core in the building.
No,
there was a core. I mean, see, you haven't even watched this documentary, and you're already shooting it down. But it gets into the whole first part's about the building. So let's just keep watching.
Okay.
So it says firefighters, police officers, emergency personnel, reporters, and many other eyewitnesses all reported explosives going off inside the building. Yet none of this is mentioned on the mainstream media.
I got an eyewitness who said there was an explosion on floor 7-8. That's Tower 2.
Firefighter Richard Benefiski, speaking of the South Tower, said there was just an explosion. It seemed like on television when they blow up these buildings. It seemed like it was going all the way around like a belt, all these explosions. Deputy Commissioner Thomas Fitzpatrick said it looked like sparkling around one specific layer of the building. My initial reaction was that this was exactly the way it looks when they show you these implosions on TV. A few witnesses spoke of horizontal ejections. Chief Frank Crothers said there was what appeared to be an explosion. It appeared at the very top, simultaneously from all four sides. Material shot out horizontally, and then there seemed to be a momentary delay before you could see the beginning of the collapse. This testimony is very important because the official theory says that the horizontal ejections were produced when the floors collapsed and pushed the materials out. So listen to firefighter James Curran, who said, I looked back and I heard like every floor went choo, choo, choo. I looked back and from the pressure, everything was getting blown out of the floors before it actually collapsed. If all these firefighters and medical workers witnessed all these phenomena suggestive of controlled demolition, it might be wondered why they have not spoken out. Part of the answer is probably provided by Auxiliary Lieutenant Fireman Paul Isaac, having said that there were definitely bombs in those buildings. Isaac added that many other firemen know there were bombs in the buildings, but they're afraid for their jobs to admit it because the higher-ups forbid discussion of this fact. Isaac, for example, has more recently said, I know 9/11 was an inside job. The police know it's an inside job, and the firemen know it too. But you have not heard this on the nightly news, on the nightly news, on the nightly news, on the nightly news.
So what exactly was the coincidence there?
Like I said, they do it at the end of every part, so
Yeah.
like that's why I'm not saying. But like I said, this is very fast. We've already gone through like 4 parts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are more CCTV cameras covering this building than any other building on the planet. Yet the government won't release any video showing a Boeing 757 hitting the Pentagon on 9/11. The following images are the only ones released by the public. Have you seen this before yet? The frame by frame?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing on it. It's literally like one of those security cameras that's like it showed a cop car drive by and it was like click, click. So it was like the worst. The video footage they release is the worst footage ever. So here it is.
We're at a hotel in Arlington.
And then this right here is the security camera. And if you look up here, because there was a robbery across the street at like a 7-Eleven, they had to release this footage and for like a court case. So across the street here, you're just going to see like an explosion.
Virginia. It shows the explosion that followed the crash of American Airlines Flight 77 into the Pentagon, but the video does not show the airplane. The video's existence was disclosed in 2002. The hotel manager says it was confiscated by the FBI. It was just publicly released as the result of a lawsuit.
I didn't even see anything at all.
Yeah, I didn't barely see anything there either. But do you think that's weird though that we don't have any like footage at all of it?
They probably have footage. Maybe they didn't release it for whatever reason, but
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's nothing released. There's nothing released by to the public except for that one shitty thing I just showed you.
Yeah, but the Pentagon's right next to a highway.
Okay.
So hundreds of people are on the highway and didn't see nobody saw a fucking plane.
Bro, this is 2001. Nobody had a camera phone.
But I'm just saying, nobody was like, I saw the plane.
I don't know. I've never heard anybody come out and say they saw the plane. But like, don't you think by now we'd have at least some kind of, like, we saw both the planes go into the towers.
Yeah.
But like, we never see the video of the plane going into the Pentagon.
But I guess I just don't buy the fact that if there was no plane, that they would be like, hey, you think if we just said there was a plane, they would believe it?
No, yeah. I mean it could have been it could have been a drone plane and not a Boeing 757. It could have been something else.
I mean, what, like a remote control plane?
Yeah, like a drone.
Yeah, drone plane, sure.
Yeah, like if you think back into
it was a plane.
Huh?
But nevertheless, it was a plane.
Yeah, but not a plane hijacked by a bunch of fucking Arabs.
Yeah, but I suppose, but what are we arguing here? That a plane hit or a plane didn't hit, or what are we?
No, what we're arguing is we don't really know for sure if a plane hit or not, but we know something hit, right?
I think we know that a plane hit.
Okay, but we know something hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that we don't have any security footage that shows otherwise, but we know something hit the Pentagon.
It's crazy how different the technology was back then.
Dude, back then, the thought of even pulling out your phone and recording was just wasn't even a thought, dude. 2001?
2001.
2001, I was still watching things on a VCR.
I know. And on those big ass TVs.
Yeah, that were heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
You had to like recycle them properly because of the mercury in the screen.
Yeah, I know. With glass like 3 inches thick. Like, how does this even work?
So, in September 2000, a right-wing think tank drafted a documentary called Project for a New American Century, the PNAC Group. I've talked to you about this before. Do you remember? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the PNAC Group is a real thing. It's not a conspiracy. Like, I've typed in to Grok to give me details of the PNAC Group, and it gave me, like, legit details of them.
Okay.
It is a neoconservative think tank. So it states in their manifesto that if we are going to transform America into tomorrow's dominant force, it's going to be a long process. Unless there's a catastrophic or catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. They wrote that in the year 2000.
And here is that agenda. The military mission.
Oop, what I just
wow, would you look at that? Just
okay,
what I've been looking for.
But it's just an advertisement.
Can't even get on paper.
Statement of a right-wing think tank, the Project for the New American Century. Written a year before 9/11, it's supported by key members of the current Bush administration.
The drafting was supervised by Cheney, by Donald Rumsfeld, by Paul Wolfowitz, by Jeb Bush, who's the president's younger brother, and by Lewis Libby, who's Cheney's chief of staff. This is about control over Middle East oil. It indicates that America is aiming for global leadership, both military and economically, and what it says, I think, is chilling. It says if we are going to transform America into tomorrow's dominant force, that's their phrase, then it's going to be a long process unless there is a catastrophic and catalyzing event, like Pearl Harbor.
See, we should get a video like that from the plane hitting the Pentagon, man.
Yeah.
So, what happened?
Well, September 11th happened, obviously, and George W. Bush had to rethink. But for many of those around Bush, there was no rethink. There didn't have to be. Long before September 11th, a small, influential group of neoconservatives here in Washington had wanted to see the United States transformed into a sort of benevolent ruler, unchallenged, astride the world. And long before George W. Bush was elected, they sat down and they wrote down a manifesto. The document was effectively a charter of the Project for a New American Century, a neoconservative think tank in Washington. The founding members included Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz of the Defense Department, Richard Pearl, head of the Defense Advisory Board, Louis Libby, Cheney's chief of staff, John Bolton, Undersecretary of State for Arms Control, like Cohen.
John Bolton, I listened to his audiobook when he wrote one about working with Trump.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah, the
On the
warmonger.
Defense Policy Board. Much of what these men wanted is coming true. They urged that the U.S. abandon the anti-ballistic missile treaty. It has. They wanted establishment of more permanent U.S. military bases abroad. That is happening in the Philippines and in Georgia and will likely happen in Iraq. They urged regime change as a goal of foreign wars, not just in Iraq. They wanted the U.S. as a global constabulary, their word, unburdened by the UN or world opinion, preventing any challenge to U.S. dominance. But, they wrote, a year before September 11th, such aspirations are unlikely to be realized without a catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor.
The United States of America is the most powerful nation on earth. In itself,
You know what? This next part, just to say what I like about this is that this is such an old documentary, and when it talks about Bush and the neocons, it's crazy to see like how far our country has come, because the Republican Party isn't like this anymore. Like they really were at this point in time hijacked by the neoconservatives.
Yeah.
this goes a long way
Like you got to remember, George Bush had 8 years in office.
He did.
to explaining the things it does around the world. At present, it's conducting a war on terror, or more accurately, a campaign against opposition to US domination. Others prefer to call it the beginnings of the Third World War. The United States has an insatiable appetite for conflict, and since going into Korea in the 1950s, it's been at war with someone or other in some corner of the globe non-stop right up to the present day. This drive is now led by the weapons manufacturers themselves. It is a highly dangerous precedent. I call it war corporatism. It is the door of a new fascism being pushed open. And don't be fooled, not all fascism looks like Adolf Hitler. The reality, as we see from the Iraqi invasion, is that the presidency has been captured by the most powerful elements of this corporatism. And this ghastly molecule aims to turn the world into its very own enslaved global market, and the plan is well underway. The attack by Al-Qaeda on the World Trade Center is just one response to it. Is this a conspiracy? Quite the opposite. It is a high-profile project known as the Project for the New American Century. People like Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Pearl are the major players among politicians, right-wing thinkers, militarists and industrialists in the creation of the project. The project is a neoconservative manifesto which includes in its toolbox the unbridled use of war in clearing a path for US interests. The will to attack Iraq came entirely from this visible yet sinister group. September the 11th was merely the pretext. Bush is merely the figurehead. And so, who's next, you wonder? Iran? North Korea? France? Britain? None of us really matter to them.
That's right. None of you matter.
So, do you think that is kind of strange that they had that manifesto that said we needed a catastrophic or catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most probable conspiracy theory, if there is one, is that they knew there was going to be attack and maybe didn't do much to thwart it, and just kind of let it happen.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
one of
they
the
didn't know
theories.
how catastrophic it was going to be.
Yeah, like I said before, there's that theory that they knew was going to happen, so they let it happen, and they totally took advantage of what they could do with it when it happened. Even you got to remember after 9/11 is when they pushed the Patriot Act.
Yeah. And that was kind of the catalyst that got us into the Middle East. I don't, like I said, I don't think it was our government, orchestrating, but maybe they.
Well, what about the PNAC group that I just showed? I mean, Paul Wolfowitz and Donald Rumsfeld were in Bush's cabinet. Donald Rumsfeld was the Secretary of State for George W. Bush.
What, as far as them planning?
Yeah, them saying that in order for America to be the dominant global force that we want it to be, it's going to be a long and lengthy process unless we have a catastrophic or catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And then a year later, 9/11 happened, and then their manifesto was on its way.
Yeah, and I feel like we're coming full circle. Fast forward 25 years till today. I feel like it's almost completely been fulfilled. Iraq, basically under our control. Iran is down and out. Syria is basically down and out. Libya overthrew their government. Egypt, their government got overthrown during the Obama administration. Lebanon, Hezbollah wiped out. Hezbollah basically controlled Lebanon. I mean.
So yeah, that's what I like too, is looking at this really 20 years later to see how the world has changed since then. And we do have control over the Middle East, like you just pointed out. In a way we do.
Well, so as far as them kind of being bending the knee to us, for lack of a better term. Like Iraq, we took out their government. They've essentially bent the knee to us. All those countries that I've just listed, their governments just got wiped out and replaced with governments that bend the knee to us, or we just wiped out the people that were the evil militants that were controlling the country to begin with, like Hezbollah, Hamas. Wasn't there one more?
Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia
is kind of on our team now.
Kuwait's on our team, right?
I believe so, yeah. But I mean, nevertheless, it just seems like, so as far as, because there was that other thing that was released. Was it in the 90s where they said we're going to take out 7 countries in 10 years or something?
Yeah,
and then
I remember that.
Listed all the countries, and those are all the countries that we got regime change in, or in some way, shape, or form taken them out or made them bend the knee. That's just, the world is a game of chess, But, to the 9/11 conspiracy, I do see them maybe okay, let's let one terrorist attack through to give us a reason
to do all this.
To start,
Yeah, because if you remember, they blamed it on Osama bin Laden, but we invaded Iraq. You know what I'm saying? We didn't go into the mountains of, where was he? Was he in Saudi Arabia? Where was he? Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, so what happened was we invaded Afghanistan first because we thought he was in Afghanistan. And then I think about 3 or 4 years later, this was when I was in, I think it was the next year. It was 2003 or 2004. We invaded Iraq because they had chemical and biological weapons that we never found.
Allegedly. Yeah, they allegedly.
Yeah, and the theory was that he was going to sell those to terrorists
Yeah, well, we were also told that Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11 too.
Yeah, I mean, well, you think, I mean, all those countries, they're all funding their own forms of terrorism.
Yeah, they were at the end. They were calling them like a state sponsor of terror.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because you think as soon as Iraq got taken out, terrorist organizations kind of filled the void, and that's who we were fighting over there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Taliban, ISIS. I mean, they're all under the same umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
All right, let's push forward a little bit here.
Okay.
Let's keep it going. So this is a good one too. On the morning of 9/11, NORAD was in day 2 of a week-long terrorist drill exercise called Vigilant Guardian. This exercise was a simulation of a real terrorist attack on the World Trade Center involving hijacked airliners.
The North American Aerospace Defense Command is charged with defending North America's airspace. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Vice President Dick Cheney was in control of NORAD. This was the first time in U.S. history that a president or vice president was in direct control of the military agency. NORAD was founded in 1957, and generals always had the power to shoot down or intercept hijacked aircraft. But on June 1st, 2001, just 3 months before 9/11, Dick Cheney ordered Donald Rumsfeld to allow him to take control of NORAD itself and the shoot-down procedure, and remove that power from the generals so they could do nothing. Here is a copy of the memorandum from Rumsfeld to the Joint Chiefs, telling them they no longer have any authority. An Associated Press article in August of 2002 reported that the CIA just so happened to be running a drill on the morning of 9/11 of flying jets in the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Then senior FAA officials ordered air traffic controllers to shred the tapes from 9/11 in violation of federal law. AP learned of the drills because at a Homeland Security function after 9/11, they bragged about it. Oh, we had foresight. We were running drills that very morning. Then USA Today reported that drills held weeks before 9/11 included targets that were the Pentagon and World Trade Center. Biggest holes in their argument is the fact that they never heard of a plan to fly hijacked jets in.
Look how young Alex Jones looks right here.
I know.
Poor guy.
To landmarks on the East Coast.
We're going to take a closer look tonight at another example of where, despite the conventional wisdom, there were people in the United States who actually were preparing to defend against the kind of attacks which occurred here on 9/11. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD for short, has been defending the skies over the U.S. and Canada for almost 50 years, 46 to be precise. USA Today reports that in the 2 years before the attacks on September the 11th, NORAD conducted exercises using hijacked airliners as weapons. And one target was the World Trade Center.
We knew he hated us. But there was nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings on such a massive scale.
But that turns out not to be true. U.S. military planners did envision and practice those very scenarios. As reported by USA Today, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, conducted exercises with fighter jets, simulating hijacked planes flown into the World Trade Center in the 2 years before the attacks.
And so then I saw Condoleezza Rice get up on TV and say, we had never thought, we had never heard. Why, that's a ridiculous conspiracy theory to say that.
Pentagon planners also envisioned the attack on the Pentagon 5 months before it happened.
The Pentagon had a drill in November of 2000 simulating a hijacked jet being flown to the Pentagon. So between all the drills before 9/11 and the drill in the morning of 9/11, air traffic controllers thought that it was a simulation.
Hijacked aircraft headed towards New York. Is this real world or exercise? No, this is not an exercise in the past.
September 11th, 2001. NORAD.
I knew it was 2001. You said it was 2002.
No, you said it was 2002.
Did I? Oh, okay. Well, then I'm just stoned. All right.
That is in the middle
I believe you because I'm stoned.
of a number of military exercises. The first, Vigilant Guardian, is described as an exercise that would pose an imaginary crisis to North American air defense outposts nationwide. The second, Northern Vigilance, moved fighter jets to Canada and Alaska to fight off an imaginary Russian fleet. 3 F-16s from Washington, D.C.'s National Guard at Andrews Air Force Base, 15 miles from the Pentagon, are flown 180 nautical miles away for a training mission in North Carolina. This left 14 fighter jets to protect the entire United States.
I wanted to focus just a moment on the Presidential Emergency Operating Center. You were there for a good part of the day. I think you were there with the Vice President. And we had that order given, I think it was by the President, that authorized the shooting down of commercial aircraft that were suspected to be controlled by terrorists. Were you there when that order was given?
No, I was not. I was made aware of it during the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon, there was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Well, at the time, I didn't know what all that meant. And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
So what do you think about that right there, Lucas? Did you understand what he was saying right there?
Kind of.
He said that when they were in the Pentagon, the one chief of staff kept going to Vice Cheney because he was the one in charge of NORAD. And he kept saying the plane's, 15 miles out, the plane's. And when the plane got 5 miles out, he asked him, do the orders still stand? And he whipped his head around and said, yes, the orders still stand unless you heard anything to the contrary to the kid. And then the plane hit the Pentagon. And I think when he was saying that to him, he was wondering if he was going to say, okay, shoot the plane down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, look, listen.
Authorized the shooting down of commercial aircraft that were suspected to be controlled by terrorists. Were you there when that order was given?
No, I was not. I was made aware of it during the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon, there was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? Well, at the time, I didn't know what all that meant. And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
So, but the first few minutes of this documentary, they were talking about how there's no footage of this fucking plane. How it was only an explosion and nobody saw the plane. And then,
they're saying there's just no footage. It's not. You stop sticking to there's no plane theory. There's no footage showing what really hit the Pentagon. That's the point, Lucas.
But it was alleged that there was no plane.
No, there's a theory that there was no plane. I've heard that theory too. But the point I'm trying to make is you would think by now we would have at least some type of security footage that shows what hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I smell a little bit of bullshit.
How?
No, like I said, I mean, just with the beginning, like it kind of seemed like they were, like I said, insinuating that there was no plane and that it was just an explosion and nobody really saw anything. And
well, they said this is the only footage they released to the public, and it didn't show anything because it was like that slow frame by frame thing, so you didn't see anything.
But a plane hit the Pentagon.
Something hit the Pentagon.
A fucking plane hit the Pentagon.
It could have been a drone. It could have been anything. Who knows? But what we don't know, because we don't have the footage, is that it was a Boeing 757.
Yeah, but no, I mean, because all those people died.
Oh, because all those people died. Okay, Luke.
Yeah, on the airplane.
You heard it, folks, because all those people died. All right. I guess we'll
Disappear
just
all
end
the
this.
people on the plane. What they do with all the people on the plane?
Name one of those person's names.
A guy in my hometown died on 9/11.
Name his name.
His name was something Corcoran.
Something Corcoran.
Yeah, I don't remember his first name.
What flight was he on?
Fucking 72. I don't fucking know.
Okay. Let's watch a little more and then we'll fucking stop. But do you think that is weird that kid kept asking him, hey, like, did the orders still stand? And he said, of course they still stand. Which
yeah, you know what? Like I said, I think it kind of seems like probable that
they were letting it happen.
They were letting it happen because maybe they had a plan with Israel. You know,
no, they did.
Over in the Middle East. Yeah,
they
we're going to take out everybody in the next 20 years.
Yeah, they did have a plan. It was called the Project of a New American Century, the PNAC group. That was their plan, you know. But all right, we'll do one more. We'll do another part. So, as mentioned, Andrews Air Force.
Getting late.
It's funny. We're only 16 minutes into this too. As mentioned, Andrews Air Force Base is only 15 miles away from the Pentagon. No planes were launched from this base until after the Pentagon had been hit.
The fact that they were holding war games on the day that mimicked the actual attack scenario in every aspect, and then that afterwards they claimed we couldn't have imagined that such a thing would happen, although it was exactly the scenario that we were rehearsing. Hijackings, crashes into buildings, an emergency in New York City, all this was being rehearsed on the day as part of a plan. So when they say we couldn't have imagined it, they're lying.
We've now found out that there were 15 exercises going on that day involving all the fighter jets in the northeastern portion of the United States. What are the odds of that occurring?
Supposed to believe is some kind of coincidence. There was also an anti-terrorist drill going on 7/7. And again, just like 9/11, they were talking about attacks on the same targets, the same kind of tube stations, at exactly the same time as the actual attack happened.
How many of you know that NORAD stood down for over an hour and 25 minutes, but if your Cessna gets off course for 5 minutes, they're going to launch F-16s on you? Remember Payne Stewart, the golfer? 15 minutes after his jet got off track, they had F-16s all around him. But on 9/11, in the most controlled airspace in the world, they could do nothing about 4 jets. But it gets worse. Guess why NORAD stood down? The average people in the military are good folks. They were told it was a drill because the Associated Press reported, and the CIA's own website admits, that on the morning of 9/11, the CIA was running a drill of flying hijacked jets into the World Trade Center and Pentagon. It was just a coincidence. At 8:30 in the morning, there was a drill of the exact same thing happening, and so NORAD stood down.
It's just funny. He's just talking to like a bunch of black people. They're probably just standing in line for like a concert. Like, who the fuck is this guy?
They're just tourists in New York.
You notice that? It's just a bunch of black people.
Yo, but that's what Alex Jones used to do, man. He'd get a microphone and just stand on his soapbox.
My thesis is Able Danger are the terrorist controllers. Mohammed Atta, he can't get through the day. He's got to have money. He's got to have help. Terrorist controllers, case officers, babysitters for Atta. The main consumer of Able Danger intelligence is Major General Jeffrey Lambert, Special Forces. And he tells them, he says, look, they have a chart with all these Al-Qaeda characters, including Atta, before the fact. And he gets these yellow Post-it notes, and he puts one on Atta's face, saying, that reminds you, you can't share information about him.
So they knew exactly who these people were, of course, because they were telling them what to do. Every year there's a drill called Able Warrior, and the theme is only one thing: anti-terrorism. Now, if you look at the way that they do this, they have drills in binary pairs. One side pretends to be the defenders, and the other side pretends to be the attackers, okay? So if Able Warrior are the defenders, anti-terrorism, what's Able Danger? Able Danger is a troop of attackers to be used to simulate attacks during anti-terror drills. In other words, those double agents are there as actors, if you like, in normal drills, but then at a certain point, wham, the drill goes live and something happens.
Interesting.
I know you said there'll be a time for politics, but you've also said you wanted to change the tone of Washington. Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Yeah. There's time for politics. And, it's time for politics. And it's an absurd insinuation.
In that case, sir, can I follow up on something unrelated?
He knows.
Well, you think, did he sound guilty there, Lucas, or what?
I think so, yeah.
Dude, imagine. I mean, I never saw that when it happened because I was still kind of young and not into politics. But like, imagine being the adult you are now and having to see someone like George Bush be like answering questions like that.
You know, it's what I noticed there was he was caught off guard. And in a guilty state of mind, his brain was kind of scrambled. That's why you kind of see him fumbling around for words.
Yeah, that's why he went like, there's a time for politics and there's a time for politics. And then he just cut right to, that's an absurd of an insinuation.
Now, one that happened to me one time when one of my friend's parents, like back in the day when I used to sell pot, was like, oh, I heard that back in the day you used to sell pot. And I was like, no. You know, the same thing happened to me, you know?
Yeah.
So that was that just seemed like he knew something. Like I said, I don't like the regular story. I don't think is the truth. What they tell us, I don't think is the full and complete truth. I don't think we'll ever know the full and complete truth. There are some things I believe that we went over. There's some things that I still don't believe. Like, I don't think they put bombs in the building. I don't think that it was a controlled demolition.
Well, we still haven't gotten to those parts yet.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to them.
But even think about it though, right? So we have North American air defense that covers us, Canada, and Mexico. And on 9/11, they failed 4 times in one day.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that?
That is pretty fucked up.
4 times in one day? Like, they didn't get any of the planes.
I know.
Every plane allegedly hit its destination except for that one in Shanksville where the people allegedly fought the terrorists and it crashed.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, our North American air defense didn't do shit on that day.
Yeah, that is pretty wild.
That's something to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're just being difficult every step of the way because that's what I wanted in this conspiracy show.
I'm just trying to, like, if there's I'm just trying to think about it from all angles. You know, I mean, the government always lies. You know, we know the Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag.
And Hitler did a false flag too. He, I think he burnt his own parliament, and they found like some like retarded friggin' Polish guy down the street, and they're like, it was him, and they blamed it on like this Polish guy, but he did it himself.
Yeah, and there's been CIA plans that have planned terrorist attacks to try and, I mean, they never followed through with it, but There was plans for terrorist attacks to get us involved in a war with Cuba when they were trying to invade Cuba. They were trying to find any reason to invade Cuba. Shady shit is afoot. I mean, they're playing a whole different fucking game up there. A whole different game up there where, citizens dying could just be the collateral damage for the greater good. And the greater good is the expansion of the American empire and American values, So it's like
global dominance.
Yeah, it's a whole different type of chess up there. That we'll never understand, we'll never know the truth, and this is a small piece of that puzzle, for sure.
And we're just scratching the surface, Lucas. Don't worry.
We're surface scratchers.
Yeah, we're starting at the surface, and we'll go deep eventually.
But all right then. Well, if you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Was it a conspiracy? Was it not? Is it more nuanced than that? Comment below.
All right.